Well, today is September 27th. That means it's Tuesday Wrestling, and we all know what that means. That means we're going to be reviewing NWA, but not this time with Power. We got PowerrrSurge that is being hosted none other than the current NWA Women's Tag Team Champions, Pretty and Power. And of course, we got AEW Dark with 11 matches, and we cannot forget NXT. As you know, we saw the shocking arrival of Ilja Dragunov, the Czar, making his way to NXT. But the real question does remain: what is his intentions now that he's in NXT? Well, we'll find out. But first things first, we're going to be reviewing Stardom's latest event, which took place. Now, I did not see the last 5-star Grand Prix tournament that took place on the 24th. I'm still waiting for, what's their name? WatchProWrestling.org to hopefully to upload it so I can watch it. But what we got is showcase number 2 with some interesting matches, but 2 of the matches features the Blue Star blocks in the 5-star Grand Prix. However, I will not add those points yet until I get the entire day 19. Hopefully with that we can draw in the conclusion, but also in the near future we'll be talking about what is the scenarios on who's gonna who can walk out. If that is the case, then we'll throw that. But also, we cannot forget some news updates that have been going on up in the world of pro wrestling, so we're going to be talking about those too. So, let's get ready for another episode of Deleted Wrestle Zone.
Are you ready? Get up, get up! 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 Get up, get up!
Welcome everybody to Deleted Wrestle Zone, all things that is pro wrestling with AEW, NXT, New Japan Pro Wrestling, Impact Wrestling, the National Wrestling Alliance, various promotions, wrestlers, matches, and championships. I am your host, J-Rod here. So, let's begin with Stardom in showcase number 2. This took place on the 25th. Now, it opened up with 2 matches involving the 5-star Grand Prix in the Blue Star block. First match, we have a Stars showdown with the 2 of their younger members of the group. We have, of course, Sayada versus Hana. Now, these 2 ladies are not afraid to throw down, even though they know that one of them has to win the match. Now, for the record, in this type of match, in this one, it's pretty much pointless because these 2 are currently low on the point system. So basically, they're officially out. But they will finish their match by the 1st of October. So we'll see how that goes. But it was a pretty good match. It wasn't too much hype of it. But it did end with Hanan applying a German suplex onto Sayada that allowed her to win the match. Now, our second match is the long-awaited match that many fans have been expecting. Zuzu Suzuki of Prominence taking on Starlight Kid. Now, this match was officially supposed to happen on the opening round, but due to the poor physical condition of Zuzu Suzuki, it was postponed, and now finally we get this. Was more like a long-awaited match. Now, if you guys understand why is this match important, there's a reason why. We all know Starlight Kid hates Julia, but knowing that Zuzu Suzuki has like a bit of a connection with Julia, it kind of brings her to the curiosity. The real curiosity is she as similar as Julia? Now, we've seen how Julia has treated Starlight Kid in the past. Twice, she tried. First time, she took off her mask when she beat her, and then she tried again. But Zuzu, she's nothing compared as Julia. I mean, she's dangerous, she's vicious, she's a thug, but nothing compared like her. So that's the reason this match was pretty good. Now, you can optimally guess that this match was amazing. I loved it. But it was, of course, Zuzu who picked up the win by applying the German suplex on her, giving her points on this one. But, however, I'm going to spoil this to everyone. This particular match, it just proven that Zuzu is now in the top. She reached 14 points to be exact. Now, I didn't mention, but there's a reason why. She's not far behind Julia. Now, that's where it gets critical. That's another conversation I'm willing to talk. But I'm sure that Starlight Kid is not happy how this match proceeded with her losing this match. So we'll see about that. Now, first they throw this thing where we had the muscle contest. We had wrestlers like Momo Kogo, what's her name? Suri, Julia, Waka, Masakurai, Azuki, Mirai, and I think, and Saya Ida. But the three finalists that people were picked was, of course, it was Tekla, Azuki, and Saya Ida. And the winner was chosen was, of course, was obvious to me, was Saya Ida. I mean, you guys seen how she flexed her muscles. I mean, she is like very strong for someone who is of her size. You know, she's 4 foot 10 or 11. I'm not sure, but yeah. So she's the first winner on this one. Now our next match is a anywhere falls match. So basically, you can win the match by pinning anywhere in the venue. We have Maika versus Mayu Iwatani versus Azumi versus, for the first time ever coming to this showcase event outside of the New Blood event, Ram Kaicho. Now, Ram Kaicho, I can tell you in this particular match, she used the ectoplasm on multiple occasions. But you probably would have guessed it. But one thing it was crazy is how apparently we saw Mayu got tossed down the flight of stairs when she was kicked down by both Azumi and Maika. And I think that kind of tells us the whole thing. But there was like some bruises that Mayu put on her YouTube channel. I'm like, dang, that sucks. But she was okay. But unfortunately, this match ended with everyone except Maika winning. Yes, Mayu won, Azumi won, and Ram Kaicho won, except for Maika. And you probably say, what the fudge? How did that happen? Well, I wish I could tell you, but it happened. But Showcase is unlike any other show in Stardom. Now, our next match is the Cosmics Rules match, Summer End. This is a match that we all saw before. It was originally, we were supposed to have in the first one, Mina teaming up with Natsupoi, facing off against Unagi and Saki. But unfortunately, due to the fact that Natsupoi was unable to do due to the inspection of her injuries, that match was turned into a three-way. And now we have a three-way tag team match where we have Galaxy Punch, consisted of Hikari, Shimizu, and Saki, taking on Pink Kabuki, Unagi Sayaka, and Mina Shirakawa, taking on our current Goddesses tag team champions, Tampoi, Natsupoi, and Tam Nakano. Now, you probably would have say this was the worst match because people were talking about that, but there was some funny moments. Now, keep in mind, Mina has this tendency when she gets wet, she tries to be all sexy as hell, which I don't mind. But the one person who doesn't seem like she's happy to be there is Saki. It's like, oh, F my life, why am I here? That kind of... But, however, there was a moment where, of course, Unagi used a water gun onto Saya Kamitani, who's commentary. I don't know what was her purpose, but she got it coming. But we all knew... But the one thing that was crazy is, of course, if you guys remember the last time, we saw, of course, Unagi take off Mina Shirakawa's top. Yes. I hate to say this. It happened again. Twice. This time, everybody, Mina, Tam, Natsupoi, Hikari, and Saki, they all got their tops removed thanks to Unagi. But the one thing, it was funny, ref was questioning why. But of course, Unagi, who's obnoxious, a bit of a wild child, decided to take off the referee's shirt. She got disqualified, leaving almost Mina, Tam, Natsupoi, Saki, and Hikari to win the match. And of course, she tried to act like everything's okay. And all of a sudden, the match, during the post-match comment, there was talks about a Cosmic Winter match. Okay, that's kind of interesting. But I can tell by the look that Mina was not happy or pleased with this result. So that's what happens. Now, our next match is a hardcore match. We have Oda Tai, consistent of Momo Watanabe and Ruka, taking on Julia and Rina Yamashita. Now, you know who Rina is. She is considered as a deathmatch queen. Involving those matches, turns out that there's a connection between her and Julia. She came out to save her. Now, Rina is an expert in hardcore matches, which is her forte. Now, not super. Now, Julia, ever since she got her introduced, when she learned about Zuzu's path of going into, death matches or hardcore matches, she never understood it. But I think she enjoys the thrill of it. So she wouldn't have it any other way with someone with Rina who knows exactly what she's doing. Now, Mai Sakurai, she may enjoyed it, but she was nowhere strong enough to deal with the pain and the beating like what Prominence do. But the match was pretty good. I like how they used the guitar onto Julia, but unfortunately, it was of course Julia who picked up the win when she pinned Ruka. Now, I don't know if she would like to do this again or what, but we'll see. But I hope for a hardcore match, I would like to see Mai Sakurai versus Risa Serra, because Mai Sakurai, last time we saw her, she was wanted to destroy Risa Serra, but Risa Serra, come on, she's too dangerous. Now our main event is a Captain's Falls 6-person tag match. We have, of course, Rossy Ogawa's bodyguards, consistent of Lady C, who volunteered as the captain, teaming with her fellow teammate of Queen's Quest, Utami Ayashida, and of course the leader of God's Eye, Sudi, to take on the Grim Reapers. Yu comes back, but two mystery Grim Reapers never revealed themselves until they showed who they were. It's none other than the first ever World of Stardom champion, Nanane Takahashi, and the other, Yuna Manaze. Yes, folks, you probably say, what the hell? So it was a pretty good match, but unfortunately, the match ended. The match went into, how do I say? Yuna actually ended up being eliminated. So was Utami, leaving Sudi and Lady C and lost. But however, I loved how Lady C put up the effort, put up the fight against Nanane Takahashi. But however, since both of them were the captains, it was Nanane Takahashi who picked up the win, winning the match. But of course, it was the reasons why these guys appeared. It appears now Yuna, Yu, and Nanane are forming a faction of their own called the Neo Stardom Army. Now, you probably say, why are they forming this army? Well, they don't like how things have changed over Stardom. I'll explain this at some other time, what was the change, the reasons of that. But, well, you know what? Let's just say it. If you guys remember the history, Stardom had to change its ways after the shoot incident that took place back in 2015, where Yoshiki and Kawa ended up in that bloody shoot incident that caused many wrestlers to leave, and because of that. But also, it was revealed by Yu and Nanane are going to enter the Goddesses Tag League. So basically, Tam and Boy have to put up their game face, knowing there's some bigger competition coming their way. But right as soon as the event was over, we received a video from Alpha Female, the second ever World of Stardom champion. It appears that she feels that Nanane agrees with her, basically agrees that Stardom has changed its ways. Rossy Ogawa was an arrogant fool to change it. Now, the reason is because they're saying, okay, the original breed were different, but these breed, you just changed it. So they think they will destroy Stardom to change it back to what it was back in the day. But Rossy made this choice to change it due to the incident, the shoot incident, and it's understandable. So we'll see what happens then. But at the moment, we'll just stick to what we know and what happened. I will explain more of that maybe on my podcast, or maybe so. But right now, let's just move on with NWA PowerrrSurge. Okay, NWA PowerrrSurge. Now, this is a unique show they do every single time, but on certain occasions, we'll have NWA talent try to host it. And this time we have the current NWA Women's Tag Team Champions, Pretty in Power, Ella Envy, and Kenzie Page. Now, you probably can guess their interviews are going to make it all about them. Yes, they interviewed a few people, as I recall. Kerry Morton was one of them. You know, as you know, Kerry Morton is the guy who will be facing Homicide for the junior heavyweight title. And then, of course, they interviewed Kylan King, but you can guess other things about that. So, yeah. But right now, let's just move on to the matches we have. Marty Bell versus Mandy. As we knew her, Mandy Rutkowski. This match was more like, okay, Marty Bell is more on a revenge spree. As you know, that she's not in a happy mood, knowing losing the NWA Tag Team titles to and Pretty in Power. So they most likely, she looks like she's trying to rip off the head of Mandy, but Mandy tries to fight back no matter what exactly. But it was, of course, Protect Your Neck by Marty Bell that allowed her to pick up a victory. Now, our next match, this was a very unusual tag teaming pairing. We have, of course, the El Begotten, Jeremiah Plunkett and Alex Taylor, along with Danny Dios, teaming up with the Spectaculars, Adam Pearce and Russ Freeman. Now, keep in mind, Russ Freeman used to be a member of the El Begotten because he was being pushed to the side by Jeremy Plunkett. But however, this was a very unusual pairing, but not more unusual than their opponents, the Miserable Faithful, Gags the Gimp and Sal the Pal, teaming up with the Dirty Sexy Boys, Dirty Dango and JTG, as Dango would say. Let's get weird. So it was a very unusual pairing, but I have to say, even Velvet Sky made a good valid point during the commentating that this seems like a very cohesive unit between the Dirty Sexy Boys and the Miserable Faithful. It would make a lot more sense. Now, I know what you people are saying. Are they gonna say they're gonna be forming like some sort of an alliance or something? I don't know. But I have to say, it was very good. You know, I like how they were weird, but in a way that works for them. That kind of fits in. But it was Dirty Dango that picked up the victory for their team when he applied the Falcon Arrow on Taylor. So I'm like, I could definitely see this more often. Who knows? But we'll see about that. Now, our next match, we have the Professional Red Titus versus Bestia 666, one half of the current NWA World Tag Team Champions. Now, as you know, Bestia is not alone. He has his dad alongside with him, as he always. But, however, it was a pretty good match. But sooner or later, I knew that Bestia wasn't going to play by anybody's rules, especially if he put the honor code out. But Damien actually missed his own son by accident, allowing for Red Titus to pick up a good win, and boom, that's how it picked up. Now, our main event, we have Zion along with his dad, Austin Idol, taking on the tag team, the Now. Now, this is a very unusual thing for Austin Idol to put his own son in this position. It's still unclear why, but it appears that this is too much for Zion to handle on his own. So Austin Idol, when he realized that things were not going exactly according to plan, he thought of the only logical conclusion that he can is to retreat. Now Zion, as you know, he's a big of a pig-headed person who wants to do the job, but he knows he can do it. But Austin Idol is trying to tell him, play smart, play smart. You don't want to lose the national title. So he knows that he cannot lose it. So Zion did what like any son would do. Listen to his dad, realizing he's right. So, as the saying goes, retreat and fight another day. So that's how it is. So, and the entire episode ended with they showed the match from NWA 74 with Camille versus Max the Impaler. I don't need to go through that anyway, since I already reviewed that. I'm done with that. So I think it's time to move on with the next review, and I believe that would be AEW Dark. Okay, AEW Dark opened up with Fuego del Sol taking on Jay Malachi. But I want to put this on note. If you guys saw AEW Dark, it appears that Dasha Gonzalez misspelled Malachi. He called it Melichi. I think that's what she called him. But of course, what's his name? Excalibur tried to say that, you know, she read it wrong. It's Jay Malachi. I did mention his name whenever I see the Deadlock Pro Wrestling events, DPW, but hopefully she doesn't get that wrong. But what I did like about this match is how Fuego is now bringing a new set of fire in within him, you know, to prove himself even further. But of course, he did use the infamous Tornado DDT and then that new submission move that he's been using recently, the last few times we have witnessed, that actually helped him win his matches. Next up, we got Layla Gray taking on Tiara James. Now, you know Tiara James, Layla Gray, as you know, she is the new baddie. Basically, she is trying to prove herself as a singles competition, but she was able to pick up the win when she applied the X Factor, you know, the type of move that X-Pac would do. That sealed the deal for her to pick up the W. Next up, we got Jeeves K, or as we know him, VSK, taking on Blake Lee, one of the students of QT Marshall. I can say this, F Marshall. So anyway, that match was pretty interesting, but it was, of course, a somewhat of a driver type maneuver that allowed for Jeeves K to win. And the most weird thing is, Jeeves K put up the win, and then he had to wipe off the sweat from Ari Dvarm. Like, the dude was the one, not the one wrestling, but he acts like he won. Kind of weird. Next up, Jora Joel taking on no, my bad. JG's was taking on Gus de la Vega. My bad. It's Jora Joel who is taking on Blake Lee. Now, as you know, Jora Joel has been improving a little bit. They're giving him a little bit of solo spot. He did pretty good. He actually put a lot of strength in this match, but he did apply the pump kick that sealed the deal for him to win. So that's pretty good. Then Anna Jay versus Kelly. I forgot. I can't. My writing's so messed up. She won by applying the Queen Slayer, as always, choking her opponents out like she always does. Next up, we got Ryan Mendez taking on Anjar Singh. You can say this match was okay, and it was pretty, you know, straightforward. But it was Ryan Mendez with a neck breaker that sealed the deal with him to win. Next up, we got Leon Ruffin versus Bishop King. Now, I have to say, we had Leon Ruffin. It's great to see him. I'm sure he had a great time. As you know, recently he got married to Aja Smith, who is the referee from WWE Raw. So I have to say it's great to see him back. But he did a pretty good match, even though he's like the ultimate underdog, the way I look at him. But he did apply a crucifix bomb that sealed the deal for him. And I thought it was great. Next up, we got Angelico versus Caleb Conley. You guys know who Caleb is. You know who he is. If you guys know this or not, fun fact about Caleb, he is in fact dating Chris Statlander. Yeah. If you got, I don't know if they still are, but we'll see. But anyway, the match was pretty good. But however, as you know, Angelico likes to apply many submission moves, and he tried a new one. Now, I would have assumed he would have put the Navarro lock, but no, he put the Argentine backbreaker, which kind of made that more effective for him. So it's pretty good that he tried something outside the box. Next up, we have the Renegade Twins, Charlotte and Robin, taking on Mila Moore and Milo. Now, we know they'll try to apply this old switcheroo like they normally do, but nope, it did not help. But it was a double combination neck breaker spine buster onto Milo that sealed the deal for them to win. Now, some of you may think there are certain wrestlers you may not know of, like Leon Ruffin, the Renegade Twins. Are they going to be signed with AEW? I don't know. Even Jeeves K, we know he's been wrestling outside of other promotions, like recently at NWA. I think that's pretty much it. Oh yeah, and Impact, but we don't know yet what's the real case. Next up, we got Nick Comoroto taking on Shahim Ali. You probably can guess this one goes into favor with Nick Comoroto when he applied the Alabama Slam. 1, 2, 3. Now, our main event, we have, of course, Anthony Henry of the Workhorsemen taking on Dante Martin. Now, keep in mind, last week, JD Drake, Anthony Henry's tag team partner, attacked, what's his name, Matt Sydal. Now, you probably guessed this match was going to be good. Now, keep in mind, Anthony Henry is one of the most toughest individuals in AEW, but it was Dante Martin with his high-flying skills with the nosedive that sealed the deal. But of course, JD Drake shows up, try to beat down, and then of course, here comes Matt Sydal to make the save. And next week on Dark, they're going to set up a match between the Workhorsemen taking on Dante and Matt Sydal. So I'll be ready for that, and we go on from there. Now let's move on to our final review, NXT. Alright, our final review is NXT. Now, of course, it opened up with Ilja Dragunov. Now, we haven't seen him for a couple of months since he injured himself on NXT UK and had to relinquish the title. Now, it was surprising to see him in NXT, but I think I like how the story is being built up upon him being involved. Now, keep in mind, Ilja Dragunov is one of the most toughest SOBs on the planet. He's a total beast in the ring. However, you look at guys like JD McDonough, who feels like, I made sure you stay out of my life. And the problem is, he forgets, he was the one who got banished by Ilja Dragunov from NXT UK. That is something that is true. Now, Braun Breaker, I can see the scenario with him about, he's not, that he's not afraid to challenge anybody. He knows a lot about Ilja Dragunov. Now, the obvious thing was, now that Ilja Dragunov is in the mix, where do we go from there? And of course, we all knew this was going to happen the moment it was going to be announced, a triple threat. But what I did like also is that Braun Breaker brought the infamous, his uncle's, the Steiner math. You guys remember that? Like, if it's a one-on-one, you get 50% chance of winning, so you might get 75% at chance at best. So if it's three-way, it's going to be 33.3%. So basically, we remember that. So if you guys never seen the Steiner math, go on YouTube, type it up, say Scott Steiner math, so you guys will see it. But I like how they brought that into the mix. Now, while this was happening, our main event is the Pub's Rules match between Gallows versus Briggs and Jensen. However, things are getting out of control between both sides. Backstage area, we saw like a brawl between both Gallows against Jensen and Briggs, but it's not going to stop them. It's going to take a whole lot than just stopping these guys. Now, we had received a direct message from Schism. As you know, they've been not so pleased with Cameron Grimes. Now, we've been watching Cameron Grimes, who's been on his ups and downs ever since losing the North American title. But Joe Gacy has been trying to prove that he can help him. But Cameron Grimes feels like he's not on board with the idea or doesn't want anything to do with them. That is kind of like what the story is telling us. However, there's repercussions coming from the Schism over this. Now, our next match, we have Fallon, Henley, and Mandy Rose in a non-title match. Now, keep in mind, Mandy Rose has been unbeatable the entire time. No one has been able to take her down. But, however, Fallon Henley did put up a good fight until a knee strike by Mandy Rose helped her win. However, Mandy Rose had a direct message to her Alba Fire. As you know, Alba Fire wants to challenge her for the NXT Women's title, but she decided to send a direct message, but not, how to say, in words, but in her own visual way, which she lights something on fire that says #and new. That put direct message straight to Mandy Rose, realizing, could this be the end of her? She has been close of losing, but this time that's going to be a very interesting story. Now, we see a little video segment coming from Apollo Crews. As you know, that he saw how, what's his name, Grayson Waller, ever since he poked him in the eye and got into his head. So now he's playing these mind games with Grayson Waller. So basically, we're going to be seeing more of that coming up. Now, in the backstage area, we see Ilja Dragunov. He bumps into Zion Quinn, you know, saying things and that. However, this also resulted in having a match between those two. And I thought this was going to be a banger later on. Now, our next match is part of the qualifying match for the North American title ladder match. We already seen Carmelo Hayes, and I forgot who else is in it. Oh yeah, Orem Mensah is in it. So basically, there's two. I think this match was pretty good, but however, there was a bit of a problem. Tony D had hit his head so hard, the ref had no other option but to stop it. But you can tell Wesley, he did not want to win it this way. Now, Wade Barrett actually feels like, just take the win. I mean, I'm sure he will take the win, but sooner or later we'll probably see a storyline where Tony D will take every precaution, every ounce of his energy to get even with Wesley, costing him an opportunity of the North American title. So that kind of could fit in. However, now that Wes is back in the mix for the North American title, but of course Mello saying, you know, that no one is there to talk about him. It's always been about him, and then here comes the new guy, Orin. But of course, Mello made it more about him. So better be careful what happens next. Now we see Amari Miller making her return to NXT. We've been seeing her mostly on NXT Level Up, taking on the new girl, Sol Ruka, who's a bit of a surfer. I have to say it was pretty interesting to see her involved, but I feel that she hasn't reached her, how to say, excitement just yet. I mean, she's impressive, not to get anybody twisted wrong, but she pulled off like a little flip where she landed her feet on the back of Amari Miller that sealed the deal. I don't know what they call that. It's not a 450 splash, it's something else, but yeah. Now, our next match, we have Joe Gacy along with the Dyad taking on Cameron Grimes. Now, you can tell this match would have gone in favor of the Dyad, Joe Gacy, Cameron Grimes. But keep in mind, the X factor of this match ended with the numbers game. Basically, Cameron Grimes have no one by his side. I mean, he would have had Malik Blade and Enofa Idris to have him by his side, but of course, Cameron Grimes says the only person he trusts is himself, which is understandable. But if I was him, I would definitely need friends. Now, an interview with Grayson Waller, he's not too thrilled, not too happy with the what's been going on, as he saw the video by Apollo Crews. But he decided to bring back the Grayson effect, and it was announced that for his upcoming interview, it will be Roxanne Perez and Cora Jade. Now, our next match, we have Nikita Lyons along with Zoe Starks taking on one half of our current NXT Women's Tag Team Champions, Kaden Carter. Now, that match was pretty good. I like it, but I did like how she does that infamous spinning heel kick kick onto Kaden Carter, and then splits 1, 2, 3. Now, in relations to this match, because Nikita picked up a good win, it's a matter of time until the Starks and Lyons get another opportunity of the NXT Women's Tag Team titles. However, Toxic Attraction, Gigi Dolan, and JD Jane feels there's no way they're going to take these titles because they believe they're up here, they're down here. But however, Mandy Rose, who always will back them up, thinking they had the upper hand. However, Alba Fire shows up, even the odds. And of course, Mandy Rose and the rest of Toxic Attraction ran like cowards, knowing they don't want to deal with this. Now, back in Chase U, as you know, Andre Chase picked up a good victory against Carmelo, and as you know, he will be part of the ladder match, qualifying match for the North American title ladder match. He will be facing Von Wagner, and the press being total dicks as always, thinking that all this and that, but don't piss off Andre Chase. Now, our next match, we have Zion Quinn versus Ilja Dragunov. I have to say, what a crazy match. I loved it. It's so insane how this one was. Basically, as you know, Zion Quinn likes to pick a fight. But the obvious question was that he made the wrong choice. We've seen what Ilja Dragunov can do in the ring. That Zion Quinn understands that. Just because you're big and strong, you don't know this guy. He is trained like to be a beast. But unfortunately, he ended up with the Moscow Torpedo. He picked up the win. Now, before Zion Quinn headed back, we see a segment with Sanga and Quincy Jones. Basically, Sanga was down because he actually lost to Von Wagner, but Quincy Jones actually gave him some advice, and then Quincy Jones bumped into Zion Quinn because Zion Quinn says he has the X Factor, but Quinn kind of got into his head, tells him, I didn't see it. I thought that was like really, really fun to see that. So anyway, we do get a little video. As you know, Wendy Chu is going to be dealing with Lash Legend. As you know, Lash Legend feels, that she respects Wendy, but the fact is that, it was her time to talk, to say in her mind. But we all know Wendy Chu. She won't back down. She actually took out Tiffany Strand, but we haven't seen her for quite some time. But we'll see what happens then. Now, we see Damon Kemp versus Julius Creed. Now, no Brutus Creed, but Julius wasn't there. This match was was really, really more personal than a match itself. But Damon Kemp completely lost control and whacked Brutus with the chair, resulting in disqualification. But of course, Julius wants to get his hands on him. So it's only a matter of time until Julius does get his hands on him and things change for interesting. Now, our main event is, of course, the Pub's Rules match. We had Gallows, Coffee, and Wolfgang taking on Briggs and Jensen. I thought this match was really fun, interesting. Of course, they're trying to outdo each other, which is really good. I love that. But the one thing that was really stuck is when we saw the glass. We thought they were going to get a beer, but no, they used the glass on the Gallows boys. But of course, we saw Joe Coffey tried to help, but he got through a table. We saw Wolfgang went through another table, but as for Mark Coffey, he ended up in a trash can, resulting of Briggs and Jensen the win. However, Gallows were not too pleased with the loss. They even tried to start a brawl again. One of them hits the official, one hits the referee, resulted them being arrested and suspended. So basically, things can go a little hayward. So we'll see what happens then. So I think right now we're done with our reviews. I believe it's time for our last thing, which is news updates. Okay, welcome to our news updates. Now, if you guys saw my last video where I really talked about Malachi Black, I'm going to say this again. Here we go again, but this time the conversation is about Buddy Matthews, the other member of House of Black. Now, there were reports coming in, they're saying that he asked for his release. Now, this is the thing that we are saying. Okay, where are they getting this idea that he's being released? Now, Malachi Black made it perfectly clear he's taking time off. So that kind of goes in, okay, who's telling the truth here? That's the problem. And now we're dealing with the same situation with Buddy Matthews. Now, PW Insider got the actual information about this. It turns out that, of course, Buddy Matthews will be taking some time off, but in a different situation. Now, the situation with Malachi Black is that he's dealing with mental health. And like I said this before, It's not a joke, people. Mental health is not a joke. Now, Buddy Matthews' situation, he has to fly back home to Australia to deal with the paperwork for his visa work. Now, keep in mind, a lot of foreign wrestlers have to do this. It would make sense why he'll be absent. We already seen that with various others. We've seen that with Jonah, who said he had to deal with that. Nixon Newell, also known as Tegan Knox, is dealing with that right now too. So we've seen a lot of foreign wrestlers. They have to deal with this right now before anything can go wrong. So it would make sense why he's going back to Australia to get everything done. But he did stated that he will be returning to AEW soon enough. Now, for our JCW update, as you know, we have JCW versus the World. We were fully aware that Jungle Kiona will be making her appearance there, which was announced on Uncensored previous month. Turns out we just got her opponent, and it's going to be Sawyer Wreck. I'd say that's going to be a good match. I'm definitely. If you guys never seen JCW, it's free on the GCW YouTube, the Game Changer Wrestling YouTube, and it's right there. I can't wait to see that. That's going to be on October 9th. Now, speaking of GCW, more updates on them. Turns out they'll be returning to Milwaukee, Wisconsin on November 13th for Death Trip, and it's going to be at the La Pica Lounge. No new information who's going to participate yet, but we can only speculate. But right now, I'm not doing that at all. Now, our final interview. This is an update for the DPW, Deadlock Pro Wrestling Carolina Classic, that's taking place later on in October 15th. We announced for a 6-man tag team match. We have Bojack, Donnie Ray, and Mason Miles taking on Jay Malachi, LeBron Cozy, and of course Diego Hill. So this is going to be a very interesting matchup. I can't wait to see it once it's out. So I think that's pretty much it what we got with our news updates. So let's just call it a day. Well, I hope everybody enjoys this episode. Coming up, as you know, we got AEW Dynamite. Some interesting news came around for that. Apparently, we are going to have the Ring of Honor World title on the line. As you know, the Ocho, Jericho, will be putting the title on the line against the former Ring of Honor World Champion. We're talking about El Bandito, so he will be his challenger. Of course, we cannot forget we will have Saray speak. Hopefully we get the answers we want to get. I know she mentioned this. Don't trust what she says. Keep that in mind. But I haven't decided yet what I'm going to put into that before that. I know I still haven't seen House of Glory and a few other. Oh yeah, there's the latest Tokyo Pro Wrestling events. DDT's latest event, who's going to go to top or something like that. But yeah, I'll be reviewing all of that. I'm going to be trying to decide which ones I should be doing at the moment. But for now, we'll just say I'll see you guys in the next DWZ time. Same DWZ channel. I must bid all of you adieu. So, goodbye. Mwah. And have a nice day.